Chapter 47. Rejection and Revelation. Theo knelt on the petal-strewn training ground, grappling with the weight of Osa Ragnar Plunus's offer. She wanted to pass down both the legacy of the Plum Blossoms and the legendary Heaven Dragon sword technique to him. Osa regarded him coolly, asking if the prospect didn't sound enticing. Theo stammered that of course it did, but, he confessed, looking down, he truly didn't understand why she cherished him so much. He hadn't done anything significant for her yet. Osa simply told him to stand up. She gently touched his chin, tilting his face up, explaining there was no grand reason. It was simply that he reminded her of Kyle Ragnar, the current clan head. Theo was taken aback, questioning if he truly resembled the clan head. Osa affirmed it, stating he was exactly like Kyle in his youth, and not just in appearance. Like Theo, the young Kyle relentlessly chased his dreams and ideals. Osa paused, looking wistful, adding that perhaps Kyle might still be dreaming of them even now. That unwavering pursuit, she elaborated, was why Kyle could never fall into despair. He worked tirelessly, breaking through any trial or challenge that stood in his way. Every single day presented unending hardship, battles against monstrous foes in unforgiving landscapes. Yet despite it all, not once did Kyle yield or compromise his core principles. Osa smiled fondly, revealing that when she looked at Theo, she saw that same fierce, idealistic side of Kyle that she had fallen in love with. Seeing that spark rekindled in Theo, how could she possibly stand by and do nothing? Having satisfied his curiosity, she stated it was now time for him to provide his answer. Theo took a breath. He acknowledged it was an incredibly attractive offer, more tempting than a free-for-all buffet, but he would have to decline. Osa prompted him for his reason. Theo explained frankly that he currently had too many teachers. Besides Lady Plum Blossom herself, who had already taught him much, there was the demon dragon commander Julius. His senior dragons, Evelyn and Aaron. His friends and comrades, Wellington, Hulkus, and Erica, even his friends from the initial training grounds. Going further, he even counted his rivals, Axion Troyven and the Sky Dragon, Ed Troyven, among those who had taught him invaluable, if harsh, lessons. They were all his teachers in their own ways. Osa raised an eyebrow, surprised he would include Ed Troyven, someone she understood him to be at odds with. Theo affirmed it. That was exactly why. The hardship his enemies created was precisely what had forged the current version of himself. Osa's expression softened slightly. Theo continued, explaining that his sword style had learned and fundamentally changed because of everyone who had either loved or wronged him. For that very reason, he felt he couldn't faithfully uphold a single school's tradition and pass it down intact to the next generation. Osa mused that his inability to carry on tradition because his sword was ever-evolving was both endearing and, in a way, regretful. Theo met her gaze earnestly. He might not be able to be her disciple, but he would gladly be her son. Osa's eyes widened, a flicker of genuine surprise and then radiant delight blooming on her face. Later, in a moonlit garden pavilion adorned with blossoming plum trees, Osa reclined, sipping wine while her attendant poured. Osa smiled, savoring the vintage. The attendant remarked that Lady Osa must have really taken a liking to Theo. Osa confirmed it without hesitation. She explained that the heavens, or perhaps fate, had never permitted her to have a child of her own. And yet, here was a young man, so much like the man she loved, who had just promised to be her son. How could she not be delighted? The attendant smiled, expressing her own happiness at seeing Lady Osa so pleased. Osa felt she should thank Theo for finally making her a mother, in a sense. She then instructed her attendant to prepare a letter for her husband, relaying the news. The attendant inquired about the message, and Osa specified it concerned Theo's promotion exam. The attendant was visibly startled, respectfully pointing out that, pardon her words, Theo was still a rookie fresh from the awakening ceremony. If he garnered too much attention at such a young age, she worried, he might attract significant danger. Surely Lady Osa, more than anyone, understood those risks. OSA placed her wine glass down, her expression turning resolute. That, she stated, was precisely why she needed to hurry. Before the great, turbulent winds currently gathering strength arrived to consume the Ragnar clan. She wanted to give Theo as much strength, knowledge, and support as she possibly could. Deep beneath the cavalry headquarters in a stark, cold underground cell, the captured lead agent, Sidra, sat slumped against the wall, heavily chained and bandaged, missing an arm. His remaining eye snapped open as footsteps echoed in the corridor. A cloaked figure with a chilling, mask-like face paint and razor-sharp claws stood outside the bars. The agent acknowledged the visitor's arrival. The masked assassin advised the agent not to resent him. This was all according to his will, presumably Ed Troyven's. Sidra affirmed he would never question it. With his last breath of defiance, he ordered the assassin to kill him now. The assassin obliged, lunging forward. But just as his claws reached for the agent's throat, the chains binding Sidra suddenly pulsed with green energy and shattered. The assassin recoiled in shock as Evelyn Nereville dropped silently from an opening in the ceiling above. The assassin hissed, recognizing her, realizing too late that this entire situation was a trap. Evelyn, declaring she'd been waiting, engaged him immediately. The assassin parried her swift attacks, inwardly stunned by her skill. Had she always been this capable? He cursed his misfortune. Though it was a shame he couldn't eliminate Sidra to tie up loose ends, getting caught himself would be far worse. He needed to escape and plan for the future. As the assassin tried to disengage, Evelyn cut him off, using a burst of wind-like energy, informing him she wasn't about to let him just waltz out of there. She invoked another of Hector Ragnar's techniques, the god of Tempest's secret technique, Squall. A maelstrom of emerald wind erupted, trapping the assassin. He choked, blood sputtering from behind his mask, realizing he couldn't get caught like this. He began gathering volatile blue energy, preparing to destroy the evidence, himself included. But Evelyn anticipated the move, grabbing his tunic and remarking how predictable it was that they all tried the same self-destruct tactic when cornered. Using his momentum against him, she hurled him down the corridor, stating plainly that such a trick wouldn't work on her twice. Sometime later, in a remote, secure cabin nestled deep within a snow-covered forest far from the main Ragnar complex, a meeting was underway. Evelyn reported to Commander Julius and Theo that today, at 1:15 a.m., she had successfully captured an assassin who infiltrated the underground jail. An intelligence officer, presumably Cleve from Black Snow, presented their findings, pointing to a map. The assassin was confirmed to be from Serpent Season, identified as a suborganization of the Easter Elite clan, the Troyven clan, making a connection to Ed Troyven highly likely. Julius, seated at the head of the table, stated grimly that this pretty much confirmed their suspicions of having a mole within their ranks. Cleve concurred, explaining that this meeting was being held in such a remote location precisely to avoid further intelligence leaks. Cleve continued the briefing. Current intelligence placed Serpent Season's base in an ancient castle within the Calhelm region. They estimated that within the next 3 hours, the operatives there would consider their assassin's mission, likely silencing Sidra, a failure, burn any incriminating evidence, and flee. Therefore, the objective was clear: ambush their base before the deadline, round up all members, and extract information. This was the crux of the newly designated joint mission. Cleve concluded the report, identifying herself by name and rank. Cleve, a Null Snow. Theo noted the rank with interest, surprised to finally meet one of Black Snow's elite agents in person. Julius cleared his throat, adding one final point. This mission, he declared, would also serve as Theo Ragnar's official promotion exam. Cleve and Evelyn both showed surprise. Theo himself questioned if he had already earned the qualifications for such an exam. Julius sighed, confirming Theo was qualified, but cautioned that it wasn't all roses and daisies, or perhaps in their line of work, blood and glory. The difficulty of Theo's promotion exam had been significantly increased. While exam difficulty naturally scaled with rank, Julius elaborated, assigning a mission with the potential to incite civil war as a test for a mid-rank swordsman was definitely not normal. Julius leaned forward, revealing he was aware Theo had ordered Evelyn to stake out the cells because he anticipated an assassination attempt. Evelyn gave a slight cough of confirmation. Since Theo had initiated this chain of events, Julius continued. He was now being asked to see it through to the end. Theo offered his apologies for acting unilaterally. Julius accepted, but warned that even as an heir, acting disrespectfully without consultation was unacceptable. Since things had progressed this far, Theo must complete the mission flawlessly. Julius leaned in, grabbing Theo's tunic and giving him a rough shake, demanding he get promoted to mid-rank swordsman and earn solo mission privileges. Understood? Theo, regaining his composure, affirmed with a yes, sir, a wry smile playing on his lips. He mused internally that this incident was truly beginning to revolve around him. He hadn't expected to become the center of attention quite like this. A familiar blue screen popped into his vision. Scenario quest number 4. Dark ties of the previous life. The objective. This is your chance to clean up the dark ties of your previous life. Stop their insidious plot. Theo pondered the notification, wondering, as he always had, what invisible thread tied him and these figures together across timelines to cause all this chaos. Cleve, noticing his distraction, asked if he had a problem. Theo met her gaze, his expression hardening with resolve. No, he replied he did not. This mission, he would complete it no matter what. Julius slammed his hands on the table, satisfied. Good. Now that everyone was briefed, it was time to start the snake cleanup mission.